let's not shame people for rest. And let's not shame ourselves for rest. Because yes, rest is productive, but rest is not obligated to be productive. Rest is obligated to be rest. Hello, sunshine. Welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Creative Podcast, the podcast for neurodivergent creatives. Today's topic is about rest and productivity, and the fact that you have to rest in order to be productive. And so we have started saying this cultural thing, rest is productive. You have to rest in order to be productive. You're more efficient if you are well rested. And all of these things are true, but also, does rest have to be productive? Do we have to gauge everything on our productivity? So I teach not work-life balance, but work-life play-rest balance, because you need all of those things. We, left to our own devices, I think that humans would work, right? We would garden, we would build, we would create stuff. So I'm not only talking about work in the sense of the job that you go to or that you work from home or whatever it is. Work is any labor, domestic labor. So doing the dishes, doing the laundry, picking your kids up from school. These are all work, and they all matter just as much as paid work. And also hourly paid work is just as important as salaried work. We really spend a lot of time as people trying to fit into these categories of, there's blue collar workers and white collar workers, and you want to have a job and a career that does XYZ thing for you. And if you are a person who does not dream of labor, you say, I don't really have a dream job. I just do this job to make money and pay my bills. People think that's bad or lazy. And honestly, laziness is such a very charged topic. And I wanted to start this conversation around rest and productivity and the work that we do and how we do it, because July is Disability Pride Month. And we just got off LGBTQ Pride Month, the LGBTQ, the alphabet mafia, I believe some folks call the queer community. And we got some numbers on those. One comment in particular really stood out to me. And it said, genuine question. And when somebody starts a comment with genuine question, it's 50-50, whether it's a genuine question or it's somebody being a shitheel. But I chose to interpret this as a genuine question. And they said, why do queer people have to make that their whole personality? We live in a society where, it's okay to be whoever you are. And I was like, oh, you sweet summer child. No, I'm in the United States. It's a shit show here. There are all sorts of anti-queer legislations. Multiple state legislatures are doing trans bathroom bills, trans athlete bills. Trans kids can't use their pronouns at school, or the teachers have to out them to their parents. There's a lot going on that makes it very unsafe, especially to be a trans person in the United States right now, especially a trans child or teenager. And I know that this is not disability pride. We're going to come back to it. We take a little journey. But even besides that, it's still not always safe depending on where you are and whether you live in a city or a rural area, whether you live in a blue state or red state. A city or rural area kind of informs that, doesn't it? It's fine. Never mind. But people still get discriminated against for being gay. People still can't come out to their families for fear of being disowned. We are not in this any kind of post homophobia, post transphobia world. We simply are not. And at the same time, we are still upholding racist institutions and pouring money into militarizing police forces that disproportionately harm Black and brown people, Indigenous people, queer people, autistic people, neurodivergent people, disabled people. It's totally fine in America to be like a cis white straight guy, maybe a cis white gay guy, if you're like cool about it. But for a lot of us who just want to live our lives, that is a point of contention with a lot of America and a lot of the world. And this commenter specifically was like, I would get it if you were in a country where like it's illegal to be gay. Legality is not the problem. Acceptance and respect and just letting people live their lives is the problem. So that said, let's kick it over to disability, because we also live in a society that doesn't really value disabled people, especially disabled workers who are just as capable of working, being productive, contributing to society. That's kind of a shitty phrase. I hate it. Let's unpack contributing to society, because what does that mean? Like, every single human person has value and worth that is beyond what their labor can provide. So the idea of like being a contributing member of society, who decides that? Why don't I get to decide that just being a person makes you a contributing member of society? People are like, no, you have to have a job. Well, what if I have a part-time job that I do from home? That doesn't count. You have to have a full-time job. You have to go to an office. You have to punch a time clock. You have to, whatever the thing is. And this is true for like any sort of moral superiority Olympics that are going on, is when somebody gets to define this goalpost over here is what you have to reach in order to be a contributing member of society. And you're like, okay, well, I'll try for that. Then they can just move it. And they can be like, well, you need to try a little harder now because we moved it. It changed. And then we do it again and we do it again and we do it again. So people right now are working harder and more and have way more like mental load on their shoulders than in like any generation prior. And we are making so little money for it. Then you're like, well, get a better job, get an education, do this, do that. It's all fake. It's all made up. It's all somebody else telling you how to perform in their game with their rules so that you can win, but you never win. You're not consensually playing this game of being a contributing member of society. And we can talk about like if you should have like an inherent desire to give back, to be altruistic. And I think that most human people have that. Most human people, like Martian people, maybe. It's hit or miss with Venusians. That's not what I mean. I just mean like people, human beings of any persuasion, I think are community-based. We are like a tribal species. We need community to live. And thus, it makes sense that we would have evolved to take care of our community members. And it used to be, the phrase like it takes a village to raise a child. It used to be that we had a village, that there were elders in the village. There were people who took on the role of teachers. There were people who were providing food. There were people who were providing services. And the more that we have grown a global trade economy, and I'm literally just pulling all of this out of my ass and telling you my thoughts as they occur to me. I don't have notes. I'm just vibing. But also I wrote a book about this. Like my book is called The Gaslighting of the Millennial Generation. And it is about how we were set up to fail. We were raised being told that we can do anything we put our minds to and, we can leave a better world for the next generation. And the American dream and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and all that. And then we aged, we got educated, we entered the workforce, and we discovered that that was all a giant crock of shit because none of the systems are changing because we have 80, 90-year-old people in Congress who can do insider trading with no consequences, we've got a Supreme Court that is stacked full of justices who have taken bribes We just know that. We're like, that's a bribe. And they're like, yeah, but it's okay. No, it's not. We live in a system that expects our labor and that continues to extract more and more and more of our labor without any return. And meanwhile, we are all getting fed propaganda about who deserves what and who's at fault for like the hardships in your particular life. And we got Republicans this, Democrats that. It's not Republicans or Democrats. It's both. It's the fact that we have a ruling class. We have a ruling class and a working class. We have monarchs and peasants. America has peasants without any of the little romanticized things that come from being peasants. We don't get any cobbled streets or fresh baked bread. Well, some people do. I don't. So is rest productive? I don't care. Rest is necessary. Let's start with that. Rest is essential. Rest is 100% critical to your brain and body's function. You have to rest. You have to sit. You have to let your mind not be doing things. And we try to life hack stuff into our downtime. We try to, I'll catch up with my friends while I'm on the couch. I'll do hashtag something or other on Instagram while I'm watching Netflix. Sometimes you can just chill the fuck out and not be doing anything while you are doing rest. You get to just rest. There's this episode of Rick and Morty. We are catching up on season 6 right now. It's a banger season. It's really good. Like almost every episode has been a total banger. And in one episode, you can basically program your subconscious to get up and do tasks for you while you are sleeping. So your conscious mind is resting while your night person does your chores. That would not be effective. Let's not wish for that. Okay. And the whole episode is about like not trying to get one over on your lesser half of yourself, right? Like, oh, just the sleepy guy. But they start having this like epic battle because they don't want to rinse their dishes. The day people are like, no, you're the peasants, you do it. And so then there's a night people uprising. And basically America is just one big long Rick and Morty episode, I think is maybe what I'm saying. My point is that we're tired and we need rest. And we don't get rest because we are constantly on having to think about shit all the time. We have to be managing so much stuff in a household. We are like on call for our bosses to call us or work to call us in. And the workplaces are really entitled to our work in a very unhealthy and toxic way. And the paradigm has shifted culturally to where people will say, well, they pay you. So yeah, you're on call. You get a paycheck, you get benefits, you get health insurance, whatever it is. So they get to abuse you. It is abusive to have our healthcare system tied to employment. It is because that means that you have to take the shitty toxic behavior at work so that you have health insurance. I'm self-pay through the marketplace. So I have Obamacare, right? The Affordable Care Act coverage where you get to just go to the marketplace and buy some health insurance for yourself. You don't have to have it through a job. But it's like $400 a month. That's exorbitant. That is very high. And that's very reasonable compared to like a family plan. I'm just me. I don't need a plan that covers my spouse and my kids. If I was self-employed and I had a family, I don't think that I could afford health insurance. Or rather, I would have to be working extra hard to sell more stuff to bring in more money to afford the health insurance. So this is just inherently disabling, right? What happens when we are too disabled to work? And keep in mind, disability is something that can happen to you at any time. You could become disabled tomorrow. And nobody thinks about that. Everybody thinks that if they just follow some arbitrary morality rules, they will never get disabled. That's not how that works. Disability is non-discriminatory. It's the one thing in America that isn't discriminatory. Disability. So let's not shame people for rest. And let's not shame ourselves for rest. Because yes, rest is productive, but rest is not obligated to be productive. Rest is obligated to be rest, right? Can we agree on that? When you are resting, all you have to achieve in that moment is rest. That's it. That's your assignment for the week, is to rest and really, really rest. Stick it to capitalism. Take 5 minutes. Do some breathing exercises. Okay, so we're going to leave it here, and I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I don't know if I can say that or if Batman will sue me, but I'll be here. And in the comments, please let me know, are you disabled? How much do you rest? What are your thoughts about it? Are you shaming yourself? Let's have the conversation, because we need to be having the conversation. Okay, friends, I'll see you later.